large amount.
Okay, wait, chat. What is Xilonen's best in slot team right now? Wait, didn't Zyos just say we don't really need her with Burnett because Burnett can also sustain?
Option, or is she overrated? I will give you guys my early first impressions on Xilonen and what to expect of this coming support. Before we begin, I do want to clarify that while I didn't get a chance to play her early, I am going off of the footage that we've seen from the creator experience server through the other videos that are posted, analyzing her kit.
I do not have early access to Xilonen, only footage info from official posts and other creators' video. So bro, just stealing. I'm just kidding.
Place in the meta, different teams, builds, and all of that. So that's what I'm going to be covering today. And obviously stay tuned as well for my full Xilonen guide, post-release, and all of that. So that's what I'm going to be covering today. And obviously stay tuned as well for my...
You look so fine, guys. Holy shit.
full Xilonen guide, post-release as well. Whereas in this video, let's talk about how strong Xilonen is. Now, firstly, what does Xilonen do? Well, Xilonen is a character whose abilities and what she gives you actually will depend based on the elements in your team. In fact, as long as you have 2 characters of either Hydro, Pyro,
Okay, chat, from this moment on, I will not stare at any of like her Aboba or Gyat. I will only look at her face for the rest of this video. All right? From this point onwards.
Electro or Cryo in your team, any of the crystallizable elements, then Xilonen will act as a strong buffing support and also healer. By changing the color of the samples next to her, as you can see, based on the elements that you're running in your party, and then with this, you'll get supportive capabilities like reducing the resistance of each of the elements that are infused in your samplers.
I didn't look.
Keep in mind that while I mentioned Pyro, Hydro, Cryo, and Electro, Geo also counts as a sampleable element, meaning that you will also be able to shred Geores. Now, worth pointing out that the samplers start as Geo and then get infused with other elements. And if you don't have 2 or more Pyro, Hydro, Cryo, or Electro characters in your team, and this could be any mix of these elements or even 2 of the same one, then Xilonen will have more of a damage dealing role than a supportive one, which isn't as recommended, but more on that in my next video. For the most part, though, she'll be a powerful support who will reduce the resistance of any element that her samplers are infused with, effectively just being any of the elements that you're running in your party of either Pyro, Hydro, Cryo, Electro, or even including Geo, even though it doesn't count as one of the other elements you need to enable some of her supportive capabilities like healing on her burst. In fact, Xilonen also does just that. Her skill is an ability that reduces the resistance of enemies by up to 36% at talent level 10, which is great. And then her burst will heal your active party member by a pretty large amount.
Oh my god. Oh. Alright. Okay, since I already looked, let me just look a little bit more. Okay, let's continue.
Scaling on your defense. It's honestly really good single target healing, on top of also having a bit of geo damage attached to her kit, but nothing amazing, at least when played as a support. Another big strength of Xilonen is that since she's from that land and has a Night Soul blessing tied to her elemental skill, you can naturally run the new hero set, which is one of the most broken supportive sets we've ever seen. And
wait, this is the what you call it, blah blah elemental damage, blah 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 blah. Okay, so this is very good. This is what I'm gathering. This is extreme. This is like 4-piece watchmaker for Runmei. It's a 4-piece watchmaker for what you call it, Harmony Trailblazer. It's very good. It's very good. 40% damage.
One of the reasons why a strong Natland support may actually be even better than you might initially think. And so what Xilonen does is reduce the resistance of basically any element you're using, provided it's not a Nemo or Dendro, consistently by 36%, while also giving you up to 40% elemental damage bonus through a very strong supportive set, unique to Natland characters, while also giving you strong healing, making it to where she can be the healer slot in so many teams, while also giving you much more damage. I've said this many times already, but usually when you're picking a healer or a form of defensive utility, you're usually picking them for more than just how much can they heal you by, as provided they heal you enough, or maybe
heal you by Honkai Starbucks mentioned. Okay, chat, by the way, whenever I move here is when I'm reading chat. So whenever my eye goes up to the top left is when I'm reading chat.
A bit more than enough if you're running Farina. You also care about the buffs that they give you or the elemental application that they have. Xilonen in this case has some of the strongest buffs for
Oh my god, I can't do this. Alright, chat, give me 1 second. Let me see if my dinner is ready. Give me 1 second. Wait, shit. It's still cooking.
A healer that we've seen. While someone like Bennett is obviously amazing at giving you a ton of attack and healing, what Xilonen does is an elemental, damage bonus, and res shred to almost any element you're using consistently without having a complicated setup. While this amount of res shred and damage bonus would naturally be compared to someone like Kazuha, and a lot of the times they can provide you with similar buffs, I'm not the biggest fan of this comparison, mostly because Kazuha also has amazing grouping in practice, which makes him favored in some content, with Xilonen being favored in others. Also has good personal damage and is just a convenient unit overall. You could also run him with Xilonen, and I think Xilonen kind of compares a bit more to Zhongli's res shred, but with way more buffs and less shielding. I honestly don't really like any of these comparisons, but I get why they're made. Damage bonus, res shred, but Xilonen definitely has a much different role. Zhongli's someone you're gonna pick if you want a strong shield. And
wait, so what role is Xilonen, chat? What role is Xilonen? What's her role? Support. She's run Mei. Okay, same role as Kazuha. Wait, pause. Let me see this a little bit. She does the exact same thing that Kazuha does. Oh, she doesn't have grouping, harmony, Netland setbot. Read her C2. There's way too much words. Way too many words. Same role as Bennett. Wait, she heals? Oh, she heals? She's Hue. She's like Caesar. Oh, buffer and oh, she's Verena. Oh wait, we can't say Wuthering wave names because this is a Hoyo show stream. Oh, she's like Caesar King. Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
And res shred. Kazuha is someone you're going to pick for a ton of buffs, but also really good grouping and personal damage, and some elemental application. You can infuse your swirl, double swirl in certain teams, and enable certain teams to work, and also just destroy some elemental shields by swirling them together, whereas Xilonen has similar buffs for all intents and purposes, while also being a healer instead of a grouper. Also, while Kazuha is very efficient at enabling certain swirl, team comps, double swirling, buffing your team, buffing multiple elements even, sometimes swirl setups can be complicated, especially for basically any other anemo support. Making sure you're buffing the correct element. If you're running, for example, a pyro character with Farina, trying to swirl the pyro before Farina summons wash it off, or in just multiple teams where you're running different elements and want to make sure you're swirling the correct one or multiple of them. While Kazuha can be good at this, a lot of the times, especially with other characters, it can be annoying, difficult, or sometimes even impossible to swirl and buff certain elements. Now, in Shylonen's case, however, well, her elemental skill will reduce the resistance of any of the elements in your party, obviously outside of Dendro and Anemo, provided you fulfill the condition we talked about earlier and don't really have to go through a complicated setup. And then obviously for the hero set, you can focus on just getting a crystallize of the element of your main DPS or primary damage dealer. Overall though, it's a bit more advanced stuff that you may not have to worry about, but important to clarify because it's a question that comes up a lot. Kazuha does have an advantage, for example, when being paired with someone like Bennett, to be able to easily power infuse his burst, for example, and also get some very nice double swirl setups. On the flip side,
is she easy? Oh my god. Is she easy to use? Or is she just easy to use? Okay, she's easy to use. Very easy to use. Kazuha is for dummies. Easier than Kazuha. Free win button. E into basic. E into basic. She's so easy sometimes you don't even feel like you're playing her. 2-second field time in 15 minutes. Okay, E basic out. Okay.
Shylonen's effortless res shred allows you to get more damage on elements that otherwise would be very difficult to swirl, for example, like if you're running two very fast hydro pliers and then a main DPS of another element, like with a pyro character like WHOtao, where you need another pyro character to swirl pyro, and this will still be the case to crystallize pyro, obviously because WHOtao can't really apply pyro outside of her skill, but you would still get pyro resistance shred from Shylonen's passive, even if you can't trigger the set effect. Now, obviously this applies for many other carries as well. This was just a random example, but it is important to mention that in a lot of teams, you can literally run, for example, Farina and another hydro like Xilonen, a double hydro core with a main DPS of any of the 5 elements that I mentioned, get a crystallize on hydro, reducing the resistance of enemies for both hydro and whatever element your main DPS is, and then obviously getting 1 or more crystallizes as well. In a team like this, if for example, swirling your main DPS's element would be impossible, well, at least with Xilonen, you would be able to get res shred to buff that element's damage as well.
Can we use... Okay, wait, chat. What is Xilonen's best in slot team right now? Because like Babin has a... I mean, technically Babin works whatever, but Babin's best in slot is follow-up, right? What is her actual best in slot team? No, any is not an answer. Like Ramei's best in slot is not DOT, sorry, break. Babin's best in slot is not hyper carry, a follow-up. And then like Sparkle's best stock is a hyper carry. Neuvilette Farina. Neuvilette Farina Xilonen Kazuha. That sounds like a hyper carry setup. That sounds like she's best for Neuvilette because Neuvilette is the best DPS. Oh, okay. Okay, so that is the tier 0 team, not because of Xilonen, but just because Neuvilette is completely fucking broken. It's like why Acheron is tier 0 and like, or rather not Acheron, like why Facial is tier 0 and like Jingyuan is tier 5. Because Facial was just broken. Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
On top of also reducing the resistance of, in this instance, Hydro, your support element, and also crystallizing Hydro to give them more damage bonus through the hero set, while also giving healing that allows your Farina to get fanfare stacks. So I know this is a lot of yapping that may be more advanced than just Xilonen good, but I kind of want to express that there are many other teams that are enabled by Xilonen, on top of her also just being a generic support and healer in a wide array of teams. Her buffs are very convenient, and in most teams you don't have to think too much of it, but know that sometimes proccing the hero set may be difficult, and there are some teams where, for example, being able to double swirl or infuse your burst with Kazuha may be more favored, but once again, why put two amazing characters up against each other when both are great, usable in different scenarios, or even usable together? Now, to play a bit of the devil's advocate here and talk about some of her, I guess, weaknesses, well, there are some teams where naturally she obviously won't work. She's a Geo character who doesn't need to trigger crystallize, but effectively wants to run the elements where you can crystallize: Pyro, Electro, Hydro, Cryo, and so some teams won't need her. Additionally, if you already have a healer, someone like Bennett, the healing can be redundant, but the buffs she gives you are obviously still amazing. Additionally, while her healing is single target, it is really good, so you can definitely play her with someone like Farina, which is a strength. But I guess the weakness I was trying to talk about is that her elemental application from off field is really not ideal. Now, a lot of times this isn't the biggest deal. She's Geo, and for the most part, you kind of don't care. You just have a ton of buffs, you're a healer, cool. You don't need to think much, and you get a ton of value that way. Amazing. But it is worth pointing out that you won't get as many crystallizes. You won't have a off-field Geo construct constantly hitting away at enemies if you plan on playing her with maybe a Geo carry like Navia, where I don't think it's the end of the world. Genuinely, I think Xilonen is still amazing, but it's a situation where she can feel more replaceable, and that's something that I want to at least acknowledge. Additionally, it is possible that future supports can run the Nalan set very well also, and maybe you'll already have someone in your team that's running it, and so Xilonen might have to find another set or be ran in another team. Or if you just purely want a free-to-play option for someone like Navia, well, you can already use Kachina, but these are things that I don't think are that big of a deal, because obviously Shylonen's kit gives you much more than Kachina, someone who is already played in a few teams, even if effectively her kit does almost nothing other than just get you crystallizes and a bit of damage, because she allows you to run the hero set, which is just that broken. Xilonen also not only can run the set, but can also give you a ton of buffs and healing, which I've said like 50 times already. The existence of Kachina, maybe future Natlan supports, and different teams that you can run make it to where calling characters must pulls has never really been something I've liked. There's so many teams, so many supports you can play in so many different team comps with so many different carries. But as far as pull value goes, I think strong supports that you can play in many different teams who give you really good buffs, enable you to do more damage, and also in this case give you healing, freeing up your healer slot, and also allowing you to run someone like Farina in your team or just be comfy, is something that I really value. And as of right now, while it is still—
Bro changed a sentence of "she is a mass poo" to a 200-word mini essay. That's crazy. It's that I don't really ever recommend for mass pools, but for Robin's triple action value advance, attack percentage buff, team-wide value, getting the resistance, she's not going to be crowd controlled that easily. The fact that you can run with DOT, attack percentage, hyper carry, follow-up team cons, it really makes her one of, if not the highest value in Honkai Stario, but it's not. Like, just say she's a mass pool, holy shit!
Early, Xilonen isn't even out on the live servers yet. I do think that Xilonen will be a top meta support, a really recommendable character, in my opinion, someone who I think is really strong, and that you can definitely feel happy getting, but I obviously don't want anyone to feel like they need to get her. I say this because everyone's account and
get her, pull, get her. Who else are you gonna pull if you don't pull for her? Chiori? Just pull. Oh my god.
Teams they're running are different. For example, you wouldn't really run Xilonen to buff Hyper Bloom, obviously, or something like a Shao team.
Oh, we can't run her Super Break?
Oh.
Wait, I think that's good though. That's good because that means my Super Break team will be complete with Nahida, right? So Nahida goes to Super Break, then Xilonen goes to... Chat, does she work with Arakino? Does she work with Arakino? She works with Arakino? Oh, that's fantastic then. Oh, that's fantastic. So basically, she made me bench my Kazuha. Now where am I gonna use my Kazuha? Where can I use my Kazuha? If I run Super Break Team 2, Arlecchino, Xilonen Team 1, then what am I using? Oh, use both? Oh, both Xilonen and Kazuha. Okay, Xilonen, Kazuha, Arlecchino, and who is my slot for? Burnett? Burnett or Xianqiu? Burnett. Burnett is slot for. Okay. She is a sustain. Wait, didn't Xiox just say we don't really need her with Burnett because Burnett can also sustain? Wouldn't that be better to run Xingqiu for the what do you call it? The vaporize? Arlecchino doesn't get heals, by the way. Right. She is good for huge boost. Attack buff. Boba or Yelan. Chiori is awesome. Fuck Chiori. Burnett for attack buff. Buffs are more important than sustain. You need Burnett if you need. I don't think we need Burnett on Team 2, right? On Super Break. Like my Super Break team is already complete. Nilo, Farina. Oh sorry, Nilo, Cassante, Baiju, and what was my last slot? Dendro MC? Oh wait, no. Kuki Shinobu. Kuki Shinobu, right? Then we can run Super Break. So Cassante, Kuki Shinobu, Baiju, and Shylily. Is that it? Oh no. Oh, Yelan. Oh, okay. Wait, what's the difference between Bloom and Hyper Bloom? What's the difference between Bloom and Hyper Bloom? Which one is better? Hyper Bloom is Electro. Okay, Break and Super Break. Hyper Bloom is Bloom plus Electro. Hyper Bloom is just homing gun. Okay, so I guess Hyper Break is better then. Hyper Bloom is single target, Bloom is AoE. Oh, okay. Okay. We'll come about that in the future. Let's focus on.
But in almost any other team comp, or at least in a lot of them, Xilonen is an excellent support, and a lot of the times you can just run her in your other team. So I really like her. I recommend her, but I'm just saying this as a disclaimer.
When can I use my Shylily, by the way? Okay, when can I start using Shylily? I literally pulled her and I never used her ever since. Moalani. You can use Moalani with Xilonen. Oh, that's good. Moalani, Xilonen, Kazuha, and Mavueka. Oh, Farina. Oh, wait, that's a good team. That is a good team. Farina, Moalani, Xilonen, Kazuha.
Disclaimer of, hey, be mindful of what you have. Maybe your other team's already running Kazuha Bennett, stuff like that you should be mindful of. But obviously, amazing support, insane buffs, res shred, good set, good healing, and that's great. Now, other things I want to mention are that Xilonen also not only can be played in basically any team where you're running the aforementioned elements, but she also acts as a solid buff to the best teams of certain characters. Now, a lot of times she could be maybe interchangeable with Kazuha or just a really solid option. But in some teams, where either you don't have a great supportive option, for example, some Moalani teams that already perform
explains Dendro.
Really well, but in my opinion are nowhere near their peak. I think Moalani already is very strong, but a lot of her supports don't synergize that well with her. Someone like Xilonen absolutely will. Maybe the Pyro Archon, maybe future units.
And let's be real, guys. It's a Genshin chat right now, all right? This is a Genshin chat. If I pull up Tectone, they'll shoot me. People will just unfollow. So, hey, I'm good.
So I think that is one situation where Xilonen can be an even better addition on top of teams where you can run both Xilonen and Kazuha, or teams that just don't have good supports in general. Now, an example of running Xilonen and Kazuha would be in none other than, you guessed it, a Neuvilette team. Neuvilette is already a broken DPS, the best in my opinion. Hits everything all at once all the time. If you just spin around, shoot your giant laser beam, and deal a ton of damage. Now, when Neuvilette isn't dependent on a particular support to perform well, his teams get quite a bit better with certain key supports. And
yeah, do we need Neuvilette? Actually, no, we don't need Neuvilette because we have Moalani. Yo, Choco Beans. Oh my god, hi. Oh my god, it's been so long, Choco Beans. Welcome. It's fine, easy skip. He's a man. Men? Ew, disgusting. Men are trash? Oh, absolutely. You need Garen? Fuck Garen. Mana trash.
Is definitely a great addition to a Neuvilette team.
Man.
You could run them alongside Furina and Kazuha and have a team that benefits both from Kazuha and Shylonen's buffs, making the best of both worlds. Now, with that in mind, a little asterisk or disclaimer is that if you are a C0 Neuvilette and you are worried about getting interrupted all the time like I am, then it can still be okay and maybe better for you to run a shielder or a form of defensive utility like Zhongli or even Dea in a certain...
Oh, so we don't even run Xilonen with Neuvilette unless you get E1 Neuvilette. Wow, fantastic. What a great unit.
Hyperbloom, Vape, Team Comp, that Zajef cooked up, so
Gamer Star.
But if you have a C1 or can't avoid getting interrupted, maybe through the crystallized shields you're occasionally getting, or by just staying away from enemies, then Xilonen becomes your best option. Also, something I wanted to add somewhere in this video is if you are someone who has a set team or two teams that you're gonna play, and you're just looking at improving, for example, one team, looking for a way to make it better, and you already have optimal supports, even if Xilonen can be a DPS increase to the team, it may not be as big of an increase as going for something like a constellation or a signature weapon for your carry. Now, this is important to
So vertical versus horizontal investment. Unfortunately, the game we're playing here is Genshin Impact, not Black Myth Wukong, right? This is a baby-ass game made by baby-ass players that people can close, that build their eyes closed, right? So in the end of the day, we don't need vertical investment. Yeah, I definitely cleared MOC 12 with 3 stars, by the way. Yeah, I definitely did it. Yeah,
mention because if, for example, you already have a premium Neuvilette team, while Xilonen can still be great there and a good addition to your account as well, looking at something like replacing Zhongli or Kazuha with Xilonen versus the damage increase you'd gain by going for example, Neuvilette's first constellation won't be as big or as optimal. So I want to include that in this video as well, that if, for example, you know exactly the teams you're playing and are just pulling for a new support to replace an existing and already powerful one, it may not be the best use of your Primo Gems. But if you just want another strong support, either in one of those teams, in a new team, or to be played alongside another support, similarly to pulling Yelan to play with Xingqiu instead of just to replace him, is much more recommended than...
Wait, what? Yelan and Xingqiu is a thing? Who are we running Yelan and Xingqiu with? Yeah, who are we running Yelan and Xingqiu with? WHOtao? A unit that no one uses? Oh, Arlecchino? Oh, wait, Chlorine? Ooh. WHOtao.
Than pulling to replace an already strong unit or vertical invest into a team, which may not be the best use of your Primo Gems. Outside of that though, Xilonen is also someone who's very easy to build. I'll cover this in my next video, my guide, once she's out, but she's really someone who doesn't need that many stats because investing into her, giving her defense, giving her energy recharge is nice, but it basically will just help your healing. Your rest rate comes from your skill, which you can always use, whereas your healing comes from your burst and scales with your defense. So obviously building some ER, building some defense to burst as often as possible is nice, but not only does she not need that much ER, generally speaking, in the first place, but also, even if you're not healing all the time, you always have your buffs, so it's not the end of the world as long as you're just healing enough, unless of course you're running someone like Furina, but good to know that the big chunk of her kit comes from just her talent and artifact set, regardless of her stats. Oh, and also something I forgot to mention that I wanted to add is Xilonen does have good buff uptime, not just from her skill, but also with the hero set, which has a buff that lasts for 20 seconds, meaning that it'll be easy to use at the start and for your entire rotation, and also can last through multi-wave content, where having to reset up, for example, a swirl can be annoying, but with Xilonen, your buffs will last even against multiple waves of enemies. Additionally though, weapon-wise, Xilonen is also someone who can aid the team that way by either running her signature.
Yeah, is that like a Xilonen zero cycle? Is there... do people do... How do you do 0 cycles on Genshin Impact? Is there an equivalent? What is the equivalent of 0 cycle in Genshin Impact? Speed runs. Okay, so what is the equivalent of a speed run in Genshin Impact? 1 minute clears. 1 minute. Okay, so the de facto equivalent of 0 cycle is a 1 minute clear. 30-second clear. Okay, 1 minute or 30 seconds. Clearing in 1 rotation. More like 10 seconds. Holy fuck. I come the fuck down. Less than 5 seconds. 3 seconds. If you take longer than 3 seconds, you have skill issue. Only for whales. No, as in like using E0 units, not E6. For E0 units, like full E0 S1 teams, like what is the equivalent of a 0 cycle? 1 minute. 1 minute. 1 sec. I finish it in 10 seconds. 1 minute. Okay. Fastest clear. C6 character clears in 10 seconds. You pull for C6 and you only clear in 10 seconds? Holy shit. Nah, I'm good, bro. A single rotation. Red. 10 seconds. Impossible. Solo. I want to say solo sounds like it's more fun. Wait. Solo sounds cooked. Wait. Playing Genshin Impact solo? Then how are you gonna do elemental reactions? How are you gonna make the different elements do the hyper bloom and like you don't? You just run it down? Neuvilette solos? Alright, neuvilette. Okay, aside from neuvilette, you just don't. You just brute force. You don't need it. Okay, other than neuvilette, you just running down mid. You don't need it sometimes. Stop 50 seconds, stop or hard. You should just check some speedruns on YouTube. Mr. Fit built his career on solo gaming. Insane. Kino can solo as well. Mono Geo and Mono Electro. Any DPS with heals can do that. Okay, interesting. Yeah, that sounds really
weapon or another buffing sword like.
How popular is this, by the way? How popular is this category of gameplay in Genshin Impact? Because for example, Zero Cycle in Honkai Star is basically dead unless you are like a popular streamer. Shit. Yeah, it's basically dead. So like who actually does these? It's very niche. It's not popular. It's very dead. Oh, no one cares. Yeah, okay. Okay, holy narcissist. Nah, I'm not. Alright, cool. Tony built his career. Not fun to watch. China is big on it. Okay.
Favonius or Freedom Sworn, which is a great thing to know. Now, again, more on all this build stuff and also her best teams in my complete guide.
Alright, so we're gonna watch WHOtao's complete guide when it actually comes. Alright, so very good, very poggy woggies. I'll probably throw this to the clip channel if you guys want to watch see this react. I'm not gonna put this on the main. So, alright, Shylily, they will feel the wild insane. Boom, done.